Yes, actually we're about to talk about that along with tension. So, stuck tension. Go ahead and grab a sample somewhere so you have something to look at. Loopers.
Okay.
The yellow and blue are the needles.
Okay. So the two on the top here are the needles, and the two at the bottom, the red and the green, are the right. Yeah, so the first two are the loopers.
Yeah, the small rectangular one with the red marker.
And these two are the needles. Ah, interesting.
Have in your hands now, grab a sample, is an example of good tension. This one will do. So tension is a relative thing. What you're looking at is the tension delivered to each thread and how all four of them are interacting with each other. So if you look at one of the good samples, you should see that the upper looper and lower looper are meeting up pretty much at the edge of the fabric. It's not going to be perfectly at the edge of the fabric, but it should be fairly close. The upper looper, which for both of these is the yellow one, is going to be pulled slightly around to the back of the fabric, but only slightly. What you're also looking at is the interaction of the lower looper and both needle threads. You should see a nice straight line running across the needle threads from the top. That line should be interrupted as the needle threads are pulled slightly towards the back of the fabric. If you flip it over, you should see just pinpricks of color coming through. You shouldn't see a lot of gigantic bits of color coming through. Now, this one is an example of poor tension. Doesn't look too bad from the top. But you flip it over, you can see our first thread on this example is red. And we have these gigantic red loops coming through to the back. Also the yellow, I mean, look at how loose that is. That's ridiculous. This is not going to be a strong stitch because the needle threads are actually joining our fabric together. The needle threads interacting with the lower looper. So at this point, the fabric is going to try to pull apart and we can have a very weak seam.
It's also bad here too.
It's not too bad here, actually. There's usually a little bit of irregularity. So the upper and lower looper tension here is a little bit off relative to each other, but not too bad. But the lower looper relative to both needle threads is way off. So troubleshooting tension is a little bit wackier on the Surgeon and the basic machines because you're looking at this complex system with all these different interactions. Right now these two are in balance, but they're not in balance with the others here. Great. Fortunately, you can adjust each one individually, and you can adjust a fair amount here without getting into any trouble. So what I would do in this case is, since both of my loopers are balanced, I would tighten up both of the needle threads to change their tension relative to the lower looper. That should hopefully solve that issue. I would need to tighten up the first needle thread more than the second needle thread, just because it is showing just quite a bit looser.
And how do you do that?
Just turn the dial.
But which way, right? Left?
It's going to be clockwise to tighten, counterclockwise to loosen. So here's today's sample. Let's take a look at this. So we are actually very close to imbalance here. It looks like our first needle thread is maybe just a whisker loose, but not bad. The interaction from the loopers, this is just about perfect. This is really very much what you want to see.
And the first needle thread is this one,
It's
and
the
then
red one, and the green one that's hard to see is the second needle. Yep. So let's go ahead and mess this up. I'm going to try to bring the loopers out of balance. I want the upper looper to be way too loose, lower looper to be way too tight, just so you can see what it looks like. Also, you can see how much crazy flexibility there is here. This is an industrial machine. There is no scale, no numbers, and you can do multiple revolutions. Caution! So I'm going to take my lower looper and I'm going to turn it 5 complete turns. Because I want this to be an extreme example. Now I'm going to take my upper looper and I'm going to loosen that one up. Let's do 4 complete turns. So 4 and 5. Okay. And I'm just bringing the pink spot back to where it was to try to keep that part at least somewhat together. All right. Go ahead and see what that does.
Somebody else wants to
You're happy to do it. Just run it through and see what happens. I'm not taking a perfect system and messing it up.
That's because you know how to fix it.
So you have to basically test on a piece of material to see where the machine's at every time you sew before you start.
And on the same type of fabric that you're sewing.
Definitely. And once you've changed out your thread, because if you're working with a different needle or a different kind of thread, that may affect your tension settings. Alright, so if you flip that over, can see the upper looper is now being pulled a lot further around the back. But the interaction of the needle threads really hasn't changed that much. It's changed a little bit because I tightened up the lower looper, but not a lot.
Okay, so that's because we only changed the loopers. Gotcha. Okay.
So now we'd look at this and say, oh, well, our upper looper is way too loose, our lower looper may be a little bit too tight, and then adjust as needed. Does that kind of make sense for the theory of troubleshooting tension? Just look at the results and play around until it comes out right.
It's
So
tricky.
you really go more for something like this.
Yeah, that's pretty good. This one is actually very similar, just with a longer stitch length.
It's trickier to see though if you have all the same color threads.
It is
It's
trickier
just harder to see, especially if you're working on the same color fabric.
This one make it
upper looper,
tighter?
we need to make it tighter by 4 turns.
Okay, there's a
Complete
turn.
revolution.
Yeah. There's 2, 3, there's 4. It was right about 4 o'clock, and this one was actually a little bit back that way, but I want to come back this way.
Usually
Right?
about 5.
There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay.
I think I would do a test run. You can do the
Okay.
short length with that if you want.
Okay.
Just do that. Make sure we get it back where it should be. Under the snare
Sure.
legs.
Oh, are we? Sorry.
Not your fault.
Okay, so there's our. So yeah,
That's
we're
looking
almost
back
back.
pretty good.
Not quite, but almost.
We'll call it good enough for now.
Yeah. All right.
Alright, so
we're
now
gonna
I
adjust
wanted
the
to
needles,
demonstrate that you can use a fairly heavy hand with these. Now that I've done that, I want to offer a caution. If you unscrew these all the way, they will go flying across the room, and the spring and the disc and everything else will go flying with it, and you'll need to find all the pieces and put them back together. So you'll feel the knob start to kind of get wiggly as it gets to that point. Just pay attention and you should be fine. There's an optional guard you can drop down here, just to keep your fingers out of the needle. I always feel this there. If you're working with a really thick material, you can use this knob here to change the height of a dresser foot. To allow, like if you're doing, I had that example of 3 layers of 1/8-inch neoprene. If you're doing that, you can definitely raise up the foot just to give that neoprene space to
Can you show us that? Just how it works?
Yeah.
It's,
So all you do for that is you undo the set screw here, the white set
okay,
screw,
gotcha.
make an adjustment to this knob.
So let's say,
Lock down the set
that's
screw again and
something like
test it
this.
out.
Can you show us how you do that?
Well, for this, honestly, you wouldn't even need to. It's literally that simple. Just undo your locking screw, make your adjustment, and then lock it down again. That's it. And again, trial and error will show you. If your material is too thick and it's not traveling through well, just
So what
raise
that
it up.
raises this foot or whatever.
Yeah.
So you just have more room.
Yep. And that is it for the machine. Any questions before we jump into the project? Okay. We have 5 minutes to complete the project and still be half an hour late. Actually, what I should probably do is check the roster for this single week. If there are new students, we may just